welcome to Boring Money, Rich Life. I'm your host, Joy Hicks, and today we're going to talk about how much debt is too much debt. And honestly, any amount of debt that you cannot pay back is too much debt. And because here in our society in America, we are not taught to tell ourselves no, most people have more debt than they should have. And right now, I'm talking specifically about credit card debt because that is one of the most expensive forms of debt to have because the APR can be anywhere between like 18 to 24% for a lot of people. And so, the TV that you bought on your credit card for $600 can end up costing you so much more money the longer that you wait to pay it off. And again, it's because we're not taught to tell ourselves no. So if we want something, instead of being like, hey, I should save up for this, I should wait, we're like, oh no, I have a credit card and I can go ahead and buy it today and I can pay it off over time. But the issue is when you keep doing that and you keep buying things that you really can't afford, then you end up with a really big credit card balance. And so the average credit card balance for most households is around 6,000 right now, which I was actually shocked. I felt like it was higher than that because you'll hear a lot of times where people have like $30,000 worth of credit card debt or $25,000 worth of credit card debt. So I was shocked to hear that the average is only around 6,000 because honestly, when you hear other statistics like most Americans could not cover a $500 emergency, I would assume that the credit card balance for most households is a little bit higher than that. But apparently, the average is around 6,000. Now, me personally, I do feel like once you kind of get to that $2,000 mark on your credit card, it's probably a good time to kind of like slow down on your expenses because once you get to 2,000, it's kind of like, okay, I have some debt. It's still manageable. I can afford the payments, and I could probably get this down in like 4 months. Now, once you start getting into like the $5,000 range, that's when I would say, like, okay, you definitely need to kind of pull back because it might take you longer to pay that off. And then, especially if your interest rate is higher, even if you're just making your minimum payment, most of that is going to be going to interest. So it'll kind of take you a while to get that paid down. Now, everybody's situation is a little bit different. And the reason why I say that is because everybody's credit card limits are different, everybody's credit score is different. So there are people who will purchase all of their household's monthly expenses on their credit card, and they're very good about paying it off each month. And there was a time when I was doing that. Like I would buy my groceries on my credit card, I would buy my gas. If I was taking a trip, I would purchase that. And then before it got to my monthly statement or like my 30-day mark, I would completely pay it off. And the reason why I would do that is because I had a cashback card and I still have it to this day, but the cashback card would give me a certain percentage, like 2.5% or something like that back on every transaction. And so I was kind of using it to kind of like build up a little bit of like savings because the bank account that that card was connected to, I didn't use it as much. So everything that I would get back for cash, I would just kind of use that as like savings or whatever. And then I kind of got back into like some old shopping habits. And so right now, personally, I have racked up a pretty decent balance, and it's because I've had two moves in a year. So, like, when you think about the cost of furniture, when you think about paying movers, when you think about paying for fees and things like that, I have racked up like a pretty hefty credit card bill of $10,000. But mind you, I do have a credit card limit of 20,000 and then I do have some other credit cards. So my utilization isn't actually bad. That balance sounds horrible, but the utilization is still good. And I did make a video about utilization, so definitely check that out if you want to learn more about what that means. But my utilization is still good, but right now I'm like, okay, I cannot spend anymore. Like, I cannot spend anymore until I get it down. I at least want to get it down to like 5,000. And me, I'm very good about paying my credit cards off. That's why I said it's going to kind of vary from person to person because me, I can't really relax if I know that like I need to get my finances together. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to focus. I need to lock in. I need to do what I need to do. And mind you, I still enjoy life. Like I still go out to eat and everything, but I do it within a budget because I'm like, I need to get this down. Because me, I'm the type of person like if an opportunity was to arise, I want to make sure that I'm ready. Like I want to be in a good financial position if there was something that I wanted to do or something I wanted to learn and I needed a resource to do that. So I don't want to just hold a big credit card balance and kind of like put myself in financial debt. I also don't want to be paying extra interest for no reason. So, this for me, I'm like, okay, it's too high. But I've gotten credit card balances up to this point, paid them all the way back down to zero before. So this is not out of the usual. Again, the only reason why it is this high is because I had two moves back to back. Like I purchased a home, so I needed to get some things for my house. And then I ended up completely relocating. And so I had to move again. And so that's the reason why I have this balance. But I will say, try to avoid getting past $5,000 if you can. Try to avoid it at all costs because it's going to be a lot easier. You're going to pay it off a lot faster. You're going to kind of bypass a lot of interest. The lower your credit card balance is, like I said, I think once you get to kind of like that $2,000 mark, it's time to kind of like get serious about it. Try your hardest to get your balance down to zero when it's only at $2,000. Once you get into that 5,000 mark, you need to stop spending for sure. Like you probably need to cut back. And then if you go overboard like me, where you're in that like $10,000 range, you for sure need to focus and get it down. But like I said, I do not recommend doing that if you don't have a good track history of paying your debt off. So if you are always carrying high credit card balances, it's not going to look good on your credit score. So I would definitely be a little bit more focused on paying that off. Now, the issue that happens is when you have a high credit card balance, plus you don't have savings. And I mean, I've been there before too. Like, there's been times where I actually needed my credit cards. I wasn't just using it as a replacement for cash. Like, I actually was low on money and I needed to use my credit cards. And that's when you're kind of in a bind because you have to focus on, hey, do I save or do I focus on paying down this debt? And mind you, I am not a financial advisor, so this is just what I've done in my personal experience. But you kind of have to like balance it out. Like you have to kind of allot a certain amount of money to save, and then you have to kind of allot a certain amount of money to get that debt down. But me, I get very aggressive about paying down my credit cards because, like I said, I always want to be in a good financial standing just in case like opportunity does arise and there's something that I want to do. And a lot of times I don't like giving my cash because it's like, people can be scammers and things like that. So I like to protect my cash, but I want to make sure that I am in a good financial standing at all times. How much debt is too much debt? It definitely is going to depend on your utilization. You do not want to get past that like 30% utilization mark. It's also going to definitely depend on your spending habits. So if you are not good about paying back your bills, and you have to be very honest with yourself, like if you know you're not good with paying back your bills, I would not get past like $2,000 worth of credit card debt. And if you're already past it, I would pay it down as quick as possible. And then it also depends on what you're using the debt for. So, like, if you're just buying things that you know you can't afford, then you are racking up too much debt. If you're actually using it with a strategy, you've probably planned for these things. But like I said, me personally, I really try to keep it down to zero, to be honest. I try to just use my credit card for like the cash back. And then at times when I do need my card, I really try not to get past the 5,000. And then when I'm at what I am now, Of 10, I'm like, okay, let me at least get it back down to 5, and then that's when I'll kind of be a little less aggressive. But like I said, getting your credit cards down to 0 is going to be the best thing because you really don't want to carry like 18% interest, 24% interest on things that you didn't really need anyway. So, as always, what is one boring thing that you can do today to start fueling your rich life? Again, I'm your host, Joy Hicks. Thank you for watching and be sure to like and subscribe.